Welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus West Ham preview for the Carabao Cup. It's also some news that's come out this afternoon as well. I want to talk about a couple of things about players within the first team that may get hindered by certain players. I want to talk about Lingard, I want to talk about Greenwood and a couple of others. Paul Pogba especially. Is Pogba being held back by Ollie, by him not having a specific place? And is Greenwood now a right winger when we want him to develop as a striker? We'll talk about that, but first of all, we're talking about West Ham against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup, back at Old Trafford. We played them just yesterday. We beat them in the Premier League. Can we beat them in the Carabao Cup? Well, wholesale changes must happen. And talking about Cristiano Ronaldo rest time. I mean, look at that team on the left. There's only one first team player, and that's Luke Shaw, because I don't think Telles is fit for this game. If Telles is fit, he plays. If he doesn't play, maybe you put Delo at left back and put Wan-Bissaka at right back, because Luke Shaw obviously played internationals and Wan-Bissaka didn't. But I don't think we've really got people that can play at fullback other than Shaw or Wan-Bissaka if there's no Telles. But away from that, West Ham will make changes, and well, I'm pretty sure of it. Ollie has confirmed that Lingard will start this game, and I think there's certain players that are touching on the first team. There's certainly players that come off the bench for the first team that do need to start this game. Jadon Sancho would be another one. Jadon Sancho is a £74 million signing, could go north of £80 million, but to do that, we need him to settle in. I agree with what Roy Keane has said. We've said it many times on this channel. I'm not stressed or concerned about Jadon Sancho. I think he will settle. I think he's got plenty of time. It's a long-term deal. But this is the sort of game that you play him in. This is the sort of game that Jadon Sancho starts, because it's at Old Trafford under the protection of United fans in a game that's not high profile. Why would Jadon Sancho not start in this game? So going through the starting lineup, first of all, goalkeeper would be Henderson. I don't think he's fit, so Heaton goes in goal. As I said, I'd go Delo right back, Lindelof and Bailly, and then Luke Shaw at left back. Or you could put Delo at left back and put Wan-Bissaka at right back if Telles isn't fit. Midfield two's got to be Matic and Donny. I mean, Donny's got to play this game. He has to start this game. He won't even be... I mean, I'm sure he'll be very happy to start, but this is the game that he and his agent highlighted that he's not just a Carabao Cup player. Well, he is just a Carabao Cup player in Ollie's eyes, and he must start in it. If he's going to have any future at United, and check out the interview I did with Fabrizio Romano this morning, because we spoke about Van der Beek amongst many things like Paul Pogba's future, Martial, Bellingham, things like that. I don't think Donny's got a future at United, and I said that to Fabrizio. I said I think it's over, but Fabrizio said, well, there is still time. If he isn't used, he will go. If he's going to have a chance, Donny van der Beek has got to start in this game. Has to start in this game, and has to start in the midfield. If he starts at number 10, forget about it. We won't see him for a long time. We know the weakness in this team is the midfield. I still don't think Donny will get a chance in that midfield. I still think we're going to see plenty of McTominay and Fred, even ahead of Matic. But if Donny is to have any chance of a future at this football club, it has to be in that midfield pivot. And whether you like it or not, that's where it's got to be. And we'll talk about Pogba in a minute, because I think that's where Pogba's going to end up. And yeah, it's a little bit too defensive for a Donny or a Pogba, but the way we play our midfield means that we have to play Pogba and Van der Beek in a position that probably doesn't suit them. They're more of an 8, and they're having to play as a pivot 6, which means we play with 2 6s. And if anybody doesn't realise what we're doing in our midfield at the moment, if I just go back here to the game yesterday, we pull all these back into position. So 23, 29... 17, 39, I've got loads of players here that I don't need actually. I'm using all the bloody subs, aren't we? Which we don't read. So that's how we lined up yesterday. What we do is, when the ball is on this side of the pitch, McTominay pushes forward. When the ball is on this side of the pitch, Fred pushes forward and McTominay stays. It's basically a line down the middle of the pitch. They're the same player. Fred plays slightly more withdrawn when the defenders have, they can't, when we've got possession, Fred drops, McTominay pushes, mainly. But in the main, when we have got the ball and we're on the attack, down that side, Fred will push, and if it's down the right, McTominay will push, and we split down the middle. So it's 2 number 6s, really. That's how we have been playing. What I'd like to see is 1-6, 1-8, 1-10, where the number 8 goes back and forth, the number 6 doesn't go any further forward than that, and the number 10 sort of just does that. But we're not doing that at the moment, and that means that a Donny or a Pogba, we don't get the best out of them. However, with Matic next to him, I think Donny has got more licence to go forward. I feel Ollie won't rotate as much because of the pressure on him to win a trophy. He says Carabao Cup is the easiest and way to win a trophy, says Harry. And off topic, but instead of calling him just Atkinson, just call him Twatkinson or Pratkinson, says Lucas. Yeah, we could just call him Pratkinson at the end of the day. But no, I think that's a great point. Great point. Will Ollie make the changes we think? Because I've gone, Donny, Matic in the midfield, Lingard to the left, Sancho to the right. You could swap them either way. It doesn't matter. Mata at 10 and Martial up front. That's 10 changes to the game against West Ham. How many changes do you think Ollie will make? How many changes do you think he should make? Because he has to make a lot of changes tomorrow. It might not be as many as 10, but there must be at least 7. And the reason I say that is because he's got to rotate. He's got too many attackers and he's got too many defenders. And if he starts tomorrow with Maguire and Shaw and Wan-Bissaka and Ronaldo and Bruno, then you are keeping people on the bench that need game time. It's West Ham in the Carabao Cup at home. Do you want to win the Carabao Cup? I'm not bothered. I mean, you always want to win a trophy, but I'm not bothered about the Carabao Cup. If we finish this season with the Carabao Cup, but we finish 4th, I'd be like, I don't think that's better than last season. Some people go, of course it's better, we've got a trophy. You don't get a trophy for second place, but, that's not progression. The progression for me is how you do in the Champions League and how you do in the Premier League. Now, the Champions League improvement's easy, get out the group. But the Premier League improvement is difficult because you finished 2nd last year. It'd be nice to win the Carabao Cup, but I don't want to use the first team to do it. And also, Lindelof's an international. Bay's an international. Donny should be an international. Matic is a retired international. Martial is currently an international. Lingard's an international. Sancho's an international. Dalot is an international. These are all international players. We are benching international players. You can't go into a Carabao Cup game and say, I'm going to pick my first team 3 games in a week, and then he's got to pick them midweek in the Champions League, and then they're going to go on international duty. He's got to pick, and he's got to make changes, and he's got to trust his squad. And it's not like in the past, like I said, where you're going to pick a Garlo, or you're going to pick a Fellaini, or you're going to pick a Phil Jones, or someone like that might cost you the game. These players have been first team players, and are not first team players anymore, because our squad is ripped. It's very, very good. So I think we've got to make loads of changes, but I think that's a great point. Do you think Ollie will? If Ollie really wants Lingard to sign, he's got to start at 10, because when Rashford comes back, there's no place on the wing, says Gabriel Noel. But I don't understand what you're on about there, Gabriel, because there is no way that Jesse Lingard is going to start at 10 anyway. When Bruno's fit, Bruno plays. When Rashford's fit, you're right. Jesse's only ever going to be a bench player. He's never going to be a first team player. I mean, I dread to think that Sky, BT and Manchester Evening News might do what they did with De Gea and Henderson, but I'd hope they've learnt their message. Remember their lesson. Remember back in March, we had clips of De Gea all the time as they were trying to get Henderson in goal. And I called it out. I said, this is just because they want Henderson in goal because he's English for the Euros. It wasn't Henderson's fault. De Gea sort of got targeted. Imagine if they tried to do that with Lingard. Lingard should be the number 10 for United. Bruno's not good enough. I mean, we don't want to go down that road. So I do disagree with you on that, Gabriel, because I think Rashford will start on the left, Sancho or Greenwood off the right, Bruno always number 10, Ronaldo number 9. I think Lingard will be a last 20-minute player. He's proven he can do that. He's going to be a bench player. Now, if Lingard thinks he can be a first-team player, well done. Well done. I like the confidence. But genuinely, hand on heart, do you think it could happen? I don't. I think, and not because Jesse's not a good player. He had a very good season at West Ham. This is why I would have gone to West Ham if I was Jesse, because I think he should be playing first-team football at 28, coming up for 29. But he wants to play at Man United. But you know what? His winning is about being ruthless and about being honest. Can you imagine Bruno plays badly against Villa and gets subbed off with 20 minutes to go, and Lingard comes on at 10 and scores a hat-trick? Probably starts the next game against Everton, but how long do you think he really would last in that shirt before people were like, come on, get Bruno back? And that's the problem. You can be as good or as informed as you want to be, but if you've got better players in that club, you're not going to last long. And I think, this is probably the problem Donny's got. Ollie thinks he's got better players than Donny. So even if Donny does well, Pogba's back now, McTominay's back now. So it's, I think Jesse just start wherever he can start tomorrow. But I don't think he's going to get a long-term first place. But he's the first choice sub at the moment. When we're making a sub, he's coming on, and maybe that'll be enough. Ollie was that. you know, Ollie's the perfect person to speak to. Jones could also get a game if Tellez is out, says Andrew. I don't know whether Phil Jones is actually fully fit to play this game. I don't think he's quite ready for Manchester United first team football. I know he's playing some under 23s, but so's Henderson, so I don't think Jones will play. Hello, Mark. I'm writing because in Hong Kong and United and Ronaldo fan is going to have surgery soon to keep him alive, and I'd love to have you encourage him. Thanks, says Matt. Well, I don't know what his name is, Matt, but obviously our thoughts and my thoughts of the United stands and myself are with that Manchester United fan going in to have major surgery. All the best, mate, and all the best in your recovery as well. So thoughts with you. Thank you very much for letting us know about that. You always say Matic is too old, but Ronaldo is 3 years older. How come, says Danny Glass? I've explained this, Danny, many times. Cristiano Ronaldo, I think, is older than Wayne Rooney, and Wayne Rooney's been retired for years. Like, it's not age, it's how you look after yourself, and it's also genetics. Cristiano Ronaldo is a freak of nature. I think Modric is older than Matic. Look, tell me there is not a definitive drop-off in Matic over the last 18 months. 18 months ago, he was our first choice number 6. We had Matic, we had Matic, Pogba and Bruno when we finished 3rd after the first COVID lockdown, and it was very, very good. When Ollie first came into the club, it was Matic, Herrera and Pogba, and it was very, very good. But Matic doesn't get picked anymore. Ollie has, throughout his career at Manchester United, always put Matic as his 6 up until last year. We're not in training. All we see is what we see. If Matic was still the player he was, I think he still starts because he's the only one who can play 6. And I know, you know, people like Ricky and everyone will be despairing about what I'm about to say here. I would play Matic as the 6, but I actually understand why Ollie's not doing it. Because clearly there is a physical drop-off with Matic. He can't do it anymore. You know, he retired from Serbia international duty last year, and I thought that was to elongate his Premier League career, but maybe it was because he just can't do it anymore, as much as I'd love him to. Do you think Jesse will struggle on Wednesday? He may not get the space to turn or anything. He's not very effective against the low block, says my big melons. You know what? I thought the substitutions yesterday were chaotic. I stand by it. And what I meant by that is that there wasn't really much shape. After Greenwood and Pogba went, at least you knew where they were going to be. Pogba the left, Greenwood to the right. It was all over the place. Sancho was wandering in. Lingard was meant to be on the right. He was on the left when he scored his goal. He was coming into the number 10 position. But the chaotic nature of it actually created the space. So, you know, some people just don't understand terms and tactics because they're not watching the watch-along. They just take tweets and go, oh, what's he on about? What's he on about? I actually tweeted that I would have gone with Sancho and Martial against West Ham because I don't think Jesse is good against the low block. But he found some space in the box and he scored a goal. So you can't knock the substitution. It was absolutely correct. And that chaos worked. And that can work because the left-back can't follow Jesse across to the right-back position. But then if Sancho's on the right and Lingard's on the right, not everyone can get picked up. It works really, really well. So Lingard's in form at the moment. He'll definitely start this game, and he is in form at the moment. But I would go with that team. As I said, I would make the changes. But it just dropped into my head what that previous Super Chat said. Maybe Ollie won't make lots of changes. And you know what? This is something from last season that was on the list of things that Ollie needs to change about. Rotation. Now, for me, this Carabao Cup game always had Anthony Martial, Jesse Lingard, Donny van der Beek, obviously Sancho as well, Juan Mata, Lindelof, Bailly, Delot, Matic, Donny. It had all those names written on it. Well, I've just named most of that team. So those players need to start this game. And I don't feel like... I personally think that is a lot of changes to make in a Carabao Cup game. I agree, but we've got a lot of talented players, and we need to keep a lot of them happy. And it's interesting that people say, well, Martial's going to go in January or Donny's going to go in January. We're still short in the midfield. If McTominay picks up another injury and Fred continues his current form, you've only got Pogba and Matic. So we still, you know, Donny is an important player. You've got to treat him like he's an important player, and to do that, you've got to give him game time. We're giving Jesse loads of game time. Are we doing that to get him to sign a new contract? And once he signs a new contract, maybe Martial will play? Or is he actually genuinely being given game time? And I'd be suspicious of that. Because it seems to me we say we're going to give people game time and then we don't. Now, I don't know whether Tellez is fit, but if Tellez is fit, he needs to start as well, which means 11 changes. But that's the quality of the squad we've got. I think we have to make the changes because if you can't pick Victor Lindelof and Bailly against West Ham in the Carabao Cup at home, and you're going to go with Maguire again, because Maguire always plays, then what future do those players have? And he might need those. Matt W says, I sent a video to you on Instagram. It's by the child who is called Marcus and it has English description. Please read it. We love you, says TYSM. Thank you very much. And any chance we see Alanga on the left at Jesse at the 10, says Ethan Johnson. I think that if we make that many changes against West Ham in the Carabao Cup, Alanga comes onto the bench and Alanga gets a run out. So yeah, if we don't make that many changes, then the bench player is going to be Martial coming on, and then Alanga doesn't play. So the more changes we make, the more chances you've got of seeing a Alanga or a Mengi. I mean, we might see Mengi play at right back. We might do. Depends how many changes he goes with. Any chance that Cavani will start, says Sumya. I don't think Cavani's actually back training until tomorrow, because I presume Man United have got a day off today. So I'd be very surprised if Cavani is involved in this game. Same with Henderson, same with Tellez, but we will see. Any chance Cavani starts as well? I would not play Matic to save him for the league game against Villa. He makes a massive difference to our midfield, says Omka. And I don't mind Matic being kept back for the Villa game, but I don't know whether that will happen. Do you think Cavani can start as a striker and Martial on the wing for Sancho, possibly, unless Cavani has a knock, says Lucas. Wade. I mean, look, if Cavani was fit, you could play Jesse at 10 and put Martial on the left. You could. But what is the point in Juan Mata? Now, some people would say, yeah, exactly. But my point is, what is the point in having Juan Mata and keep him at the club? We could have let Mata go in the summer and saved ourselves 100 grand a week. We've kept him at the club. Surely he's got... Again, if you can't use Juan Mata in a game in the Carabao Cup first round that we play in at home, what are we waiting for? An FA Cup draw at home to Stockport? Like, Mata surely has to play in this game. Otherwise, why is he here? He's a very expensive trainee coach, if not. So I think Mata's got to play, and that's how I would line up in this game. Mata runs the Instagram account, says Kevin. I mean, people forget Mata's here. People do forget that Juan Mata is at this football club, and he is at this football club, and he's a very important player in some ways. Because why do I keep fucking this up? There we go. Make sure you smash a like on the video, subscribe, and click the bell. There we go. I need to delete some of that crap. Anyway. What I also wanted to talk to you about, we have got an 8 o'clock show tonight. Make sure you do check out the interview with Fabrizio Romano. But I did want to just bring in as well, I do monitor the chat. I do monitor what's going on social media. And I've seen some interesting conversations today about, are we getting the best out of Greenwood? Are we getting the best out of Pogba? There's a couple of players in this team that, and Lingard was mentioned as well. Are we getting the best out of these players? Because, yeah, Pogba's getting assists and Jesse scored the winner and Greenwood's doing really well on the right. But is Greenwood's development on the right right? Is Jesse really got a future at Manchester United? And is Pogba just being, shoehorned into the team when actually, where is his best position? So I think these are interesting debates, and they're the sort of debates you start having when United do better, because it never stops. It never stopped. In all the time Sir Alex Ferguson was manager, you didn't just sit there and go, we're brilliant. I'm off down the pub or I'm off down the library to read a book about swans. You're still always talking about, we need to bring this player in, we need to build on this. Oh, is this player out of form? Maybe give this player a chance. People think just because you're successful, you're not having debate points about your team. In many ways, that's when it needs to be. I remember Roy Keane used to come out after 99 when we used to get knocked out of the Champions League in like 2000 and 2001. Whenever we used to get knocked out, he'd come out quite honestly as the captain and say things like, well, this is why we should have brought a couple of world-class players in. We haven't built on, we've got a bit stale and we need to look at that. Roy Keane genuinely used to come out and be quite political as the captain of Manchester United and quite damning of what we needed to do. Brilliant captain, absolutely brilliant, and in the way he was in his interviews as well. So you actually become, when you're successful, you should become even more hungry. But I like these debates we're having, because I'm not saying we're successful, but we've just won a good game, and yet people are still talking about Greenwood's development. And, on Mason Greenwood's development's really important. He's 19 years of age, he's a generational talent, and he's playing off the right wing. Does Ronaldo, Cavani, Martial being at the club hinder Mason Greenwood as a number 10? As a number 9? Well, look, I don't think that we're going to see a lot of Cavani with Ronaldo at number 9, let alone Mason Greenwood. So if we hadn't bought Ronaldo and we'd gone with Cavani and Greenwood would be playing a lot of games. Maybe Greenwood would score some of the goals that Ronaldo scored and we'd be going, what a number 9 we have. But the trade-off of having Cristiano Ronaldo is that you're not going to use Greenwood as a number 9 as much. You're not. But on the other side, Thierry Henry was playing on the wing up until he was 22, 23, and then he became the best striker in the world. at that time. So I'm not fussed about Mason Greenwood. The only way I would say Mason Greenwood is hindered by Ronaldo is if Mason Greenwood sat on the bench. Well, he's not sat on the bench at the moment. He's a very important player. But I do agree that Mason Greenwood as a number 9, we're not going to see it much this year. Fabrizio was spot on what he said about Ronaldo. Ronaldo wants to play every single minute, and he's proven already with his fitness levels that he can play every single minute. So I don't see games where Cristiano Ronaldo is sat on the bench and Mason Greenwood gets a go up front. And actually, if Ronaldo's sat on the bench, it's going to be Cavani. So yes, Mason Greenwood's development as a number 9, spot on. I think it is hindered by the signing of Ronaldo because he would have played as a number 9 a lot more. Because we only had, it would have been Martial or Greenwood with Cavani out, and I think he would have gone with Greenwood. However, Greenwood off the right wing is doing a good job, and as long as he's playing games at that age, he will develop, and he'll probably learn different things about his game as well, because finishing's finishing, but learning is on that right hand side is important. So I'm not worried about Greenwood because he's still getting time at the moment. If in 3 months' time Greenwood's hardly playing, then you may want to look at that. But at the end of the day, what's more important, developing Mason Greenwood or having one of the best players in the world there's ever been up front, kicking us closer to major trophies? I'm a firm believer that, Ronaldo was 100% the right deal to do. Mason Greenwood's just got to respond to that, which he is at the moment. So, yes, he probably would have played more as a number 9 if we hadn't got Ronaldo, but we're a better team with Ronaldo. Greenwood's still playing anyway, and that's the challenge, to keep playing. He's got big competition. For a 19-year-old lad, you've got one of the best strikers there's ever been, best players there's ever been. You've got Rashford, who always starts. You've got an £80 million right winger who's just been brought into the club. And yet Mason Greenwood starting games. That's the challenge. Hi, Mark. It's a disgrace that Matic and Van der Beek combo has been relegated to second stringers in a Mickey Mouse Cup. What the hell are Ollie and Icariki doing, says Fizzy. All they can do is take the opportunity, Fizzy. That's all they can do. When Donny signed for us, I was so excited to see him play with Bruno and Pogba, and now he's 4th or 5th centre midfield. It's a sight to see, says Connor. As I said, I've sort of disengaged. I've checked out when it comes to Donny. I think, the writing's on the wall. It's over. I wish he had gone to Everton. But there is still a glimmer. The door is still ajar. Maybe there is a chance. I'm not... You know what? I don't like to say I told you so, and I'm not going to say that. But I did say before the start of the season, I don't see a future for Donny. A lot of you felt that there was. I said I think the evidence is there. I don't think there's a future for Delot, by the way. I know he's here, but I think that's because we couldn't get Trippier. I think you can read Ollie quite easily in relation to the players he doesn't like. Delot, there's been evidence over the last 2 years that he doesn't quite fancy Delot. I still think Delot will end up going and we will get Trippier. Donny, I think the evidence is there. For whatever reason, he just doesn't rate him, and I don't think he will use him. I'd love to be wrong on both, but I don't think he will. That brings me on... Well, we spoke about Lingard. Lingard, look, he's going to sign the new contract, but I think he's always going to be a bench player unless we get injuries. And I don't think, if he's happy with that, he's happy with that. But I don't see a place in the starting lineup for Jesse long term. Maybe here and there, certainly coming off the bench, but, a bench player for Manchester United is not a bad thing. John O'Shea, Wes Brown, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Darren Fletcher for a long time. Bench player for United is not a bad thing. You can still be a very good player, but I don't see a start for Jesse, so I'm not too fussed about where he's going to play because I don't see a start for him. Is he being hindered? No. I think, as I said, he's an important part of the team at the moment, and we are a team. It's not about 11 players. That's why he needs to make so many changes. Paul Pogba's future at Manchester United. Well, look, you've got the contract talks. Let's go and watch the Romano video. But you've also got the situation with Paul Pogba that I think is very interesting about where he fits into this team. As I was talking about Donny at the start of the video, with Paul Pogba, you've got a player that really wants to play as an 8 and push forward. Where Donny is on that screen, push it forward a bit. But where he has to play in that midfield is right next to Fred, right next to McTominay. Matic gives him more freedom, but he still has to get back because, as we know, Matic isn't as mobile as he used to be. When Pogba comes into that midfield, he becomes more subdued, he becomes more defensive, he's not as happy. When Pogba plays off the left, he's happier, but how long can Pogba play off the left when Rashford comes back? So I think, you talk about Greenwood because it's fashionable to say, is Greenwood's progression as a number 9 hindered by Ronaldo? Well, yes, it is, but he's 19 and he can play on the right wing. Loads of people have started as wingers and become forwards, and I think it will do him good. Paul Pogba's 28. We're trying to get him to sign a new contract. He's a fundamental part to that team. But where does Paul Pogba fit into that team? Is Paul Pogba hindered by the fact that we haven't got a proper number 6? Well, of course he is. Paul Pogba has openly spoken about how at Juventus and France he gets more freedom in the midfield and enjoys it more than he does at United, where he has to be more defensive. That's not a slight on United. He's not saying I don't like United. He's just saying I prefer to have more freedom. And at United, he's not getting that. He's getting it at the moment when he plays on the left, but how long's that going to last when you've got Sancho, Greenwood, Martial and Rashford coming back? Cavani might have to play off the left as well. So Pogba's going to have to come into the midfield. But if Pogba's going to come into the midfield, are we going to stick with that split pivot where right-hand side you stay back if it's on the left, etc.? So I think Pogba's, as much as we want Pogba, as most of us want to see Paul Pogba sign a new contract, I do think he is somewhat hindered until we see what his role is going to be. Fantastic fundamental player of Manchester United, but what is his actual position? That is the question. The problem isn't having too many first-team players. The problem is playing bench players like Fred and Jesse ahead of those first-team players, says Raven. Mark, do you think Tellez would play after only returning to training last Thursday, says Dan United? I hope he will play because I don't see where he's going to play again before Christmas. Where's Tellez going to play before Christmas unless we beat West Ham? Is he going to play him in the Champions League? No, because they're essential now we've lost to young boys. Is he going to play him in the Premier League? No, because we're trying to be in a title race. So hopefully Tellez is fit, because I think if he doesn't start against West Ham, he's probably not going to start for a long time. Who do you think will make a breakthrough from the youth this year, says Ruben? Great question, no one. I said it at the start of the season. I hope I'm going to be wrong. I don't see a breakthrough youth player. Alanga is probably your best chance, but bloody hell, you know, even if... No, I just don't see how he's going to get any game time. If we had a really good holding midfielder, maybe they would break through. But where are they going to break through? Like, you know, the players that... I don't see a youth player coming through this year. And if we win the Premier League or we win the Champions League, I don't think people will be too bothered. But I think I said it at the start of the season as well. I don't see a youth player coming through this year. Mainly because it's going to be very hard to get on the bench. You look at the bench at the weekend, you can only name 7, I think. Or was it 9? But ultimately, Rashford and Cavani have got to come back in there as well. So you're going to get a time very soon where Donny might not be on the bench. Martial might not even be on the bench. How's a young player going to break into that? It's going to be very, very difficult. But I wouldn't start Ronaldo in this game, no. And I would be happy with that team. But make sure you get in the chat and tell us what you think about your team. That's really important. And I'm very excited. The most important thing is I'm very, very excited. Really, really excited to watch this game on Wednesday night, because if Ollie makes the changes he needs to make, I think we've got so many quality backup players that, you know, competition for places is really, really important, and I want to see how we are going to develop that. So really interested in that. Got a good 8 o'clock show for you tonight. Make sure you tune in for that one. Really excited. Hi, Mark. This side can win the Carabao Cup, says Mikael Roach. I think it can do, apart from the fact that Pep takes it very, very seriously. It's hot outside. I'm wearing a different coloured Bruno t-shirt. United Stand merch. Link in the video description. Last Dance hoodie. Just Give It hoodie. Loads of stuff you can get your hands on. And we do ship worldwide if you want to get it. I saw a few people talking about it in the link in the chat. So links in the video description for that. Back again at 8 o'clock. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. And get in the comments, how many changes do you think Ollie would make? How many do you think he should make? And are you concerned about Pogba or Greenwood or anybody else and the development this season, or where they fit into the team? Speak to you all at 8. Thanks for watching. That'll do.